Okay, let's try something here now. Can you lift your arm like this? High, real high. Ooh, beautiful. Can you try both arms now? Wow, it looks really good from where I'm looking at you. But I'm going to give it to you straight. In this very moment, I envy you. Each and every single one of you. And you know why? Because each and every single one of you, you have something that I currently don't. You have control, at least on your shoulder joint. I, on the other hand, have something that I just recently found out was called a frozen shoulder syndrome. What it means is I cannot lift my arm higher than right about here. And it's been like that for way too long. But I'm not here to complain. So when I figured out I had this situation going on, doctors told me, it just happens. Now see, the journalist in me, I cannot accept that. What do you mean just happened? The when, the where, the who, the how, the why, and most importantly, why me? It just happens, they said, don't overthink it. Whew, see, that was never my thing. Overthinking, for me, is a coping mechanism. See, if I can think it through long and hard, I may be able to figure it out. And if I figure it out, I can do something about it. I can control it. Funny, coming from someone who cannot even control their left arm. And that is what frozen shoulder does to you. It just strips you of any basic sense of control, which is a pivotal moment for somebody with a solid track record of being a control freak. See, I have spent a lifetime trying to prove that you can have it all, be in control of it all, have everything, everywhere, all at once. A classic overachiever. Straight A's at school, even when my dad left us and I was left alone to deal with my mom's sadness, morphing into anger and frustration, oftentimes with me because nobody else was around. That was the first moment in my life when I decided that I was not going to let that get to me. I was not going to be weak. I was not going to cry. I chose otherwise. I was going to be strong. I was going to push through, persevere, no matter what. Then making it to my first job in journalism on a national scale level while still in college. And I'm coming from a small town on a Bulgarian-Turkish border, Zlatograd. So I had to keep going. I did not have a fallback plan. So I had to succeed, whatever it takes. I eventually made it into a executive position in TV news for one of the two major stations in Bulgaria before the age of 40, while raising a family. Come to think of it, my husband over there and our two beautiful girls who are now cringing at me, they are probably the one thing in my life that I did not have to prove myself worthy of. They just happened to me. They came to me naturally, effortlessly. And they have been my happy place ever since. Yet somehow, on that journey to having it all, this small town girl learned to value only what's hard to get. Unless there was a struggle involved, it wasn't worth celebrating. No sense of accomplishment unless there was a trophy attached to it. Winning was the ultimate validation for me. I eventually turned motherhood into competition too. A race with myself. See, I had a plan. I was not going to be one of those women who are just complaining and blaming their children for all their failures at work. Nor was I going to become one of those moms who are always busy, too ambitious, never had the time for ballet recitals and Christmas parties, only to have spent a lifetime of regrets afterwards. See, not me. I had a plan. I was going to play both fields 100%. And I did it. I actually have evidence to prove it. See, you see our smiley faces here. What you don't see is my husband. He was cross with me the whole time. I was not there, he claimed. What does he mean I was not there? I planned the whole thing. Disney World travel before this little one went into first grade. The ideal trip It was all my idea. I did it. It was perfect. Yes, we did have this new studio launching the next day, and I had to oversee what's going on in Sofia over FaceTime, but I was there. I was all in. Where was it again? Paris, right? Okay. Next, my little girl turning 1, the ladybug theme, I came up with that idea. I put up the decoration before everybody woke up. What I remember from that day is how my phone wouldn't stop ringing because we had this new CEO at the station, so I had to pick up and then make a few phone calls. But hey, I made it to the family photo. See that cheeky face eating corn on a cup? One of our favorite vacation spots in Greece. In my memory, that was the day when I had to cut the news budget by 20%. And a lot of tough calls to make, but of course I made them. I figured it out. I told you I was a doer. I just have zero memory of that day at the beach, though. And it went on and on and on and on. Every single personal moment was overshadowed by something happening in my professional life that was consuming the best of me. See, don't get me wrong. I am a good mom. I was doing it all. Singing competitions, ballet recitals, birthday celebrations, ice skating rings, arts and crafts, you name it, I did it. In between morning meetings, editorial boards, rating discussion, breaking news situations, election coverage, I was doing it all. I told you, I was a doer. Any other doers in the audience? Yeah? Yeah. And especially if you are a girl, you gotta identify as a doer, or else you may come across as a feeler. Ooh. And we girls have been told time and time again that emotions are our worst enemies. You know, being accused of being emotional while being a woman, especially in a leadership position, ooh, that's a slippery slope. We don't want to be that. No, we girls are doers. We want to be strong all the time. Because if you're not strong, you're automatically weak. It's either a victory or it's a failure. It's, you're either first or you're last. Nothing in the middle, right? It's either an A+ or a failing grade. Does it sound familiar? I know it does. I have seen quite a few overachievers in my time here. It takes one to know one, right? So much like many of you in the audience, doing was never an issue. Doing was my superpower. I was good at it. See, feeling, though, is a whole different ballgame. I was prioritizing thinking and doing for so long that eventually I lost some of my capacity to feel along the way. As this overrated concept of having it all, it requires a constant dosage of what I call emotional anesthesia. You need the numbness so you don't feel sad, tired, angry, guilty, ashamed, vulnerable. Oof, that last one is particularly nasty. So you need the numbness to keep you going. The thing about numbness, though, it does not come on a spectrum. It's a on and off kind of deal. It spares you the pain, but it spares you the good stuff too. So I was missing on all those ballet recitals and tuck-in moments at bedtime. I was there physically. I was making the time. I just did not get to extract the joy out of it. I was in attendance, but not really present. And how did I learn to know the difference? It happened sometime 5 years ago, when one day I just lost everything. Well, okay, not really everything, just everything that I had worked for really hard over the last 20 years. My perfect little career in news journalism suddenly went down the drain. You've probably heard the whole story about the dire state of the Bulgarian media independence and press freedom and how journalists oftentimes get sacked by powerful political and economic interests. Well, somehow, as I was doing it all, I made that list. And this is where this story becomes political, but I'm not going to go there today, because today is about how losing my job, the job that I love, the job that was such a big part of my identity for so long, How losing that, strangely, became the beginning of my recovery. Interesting enough, I kind of keep a photo of that day too. See, the minute I kissed my career goodbye, I suddenly felt something, the need to enjoy an ice cream. And I'm not trying to make this an Instagrammable moment because I tell you, it was not pretty, nor was it inspirational at the time. It's still hard for me to talk about this to this day. So I was not only losing something that was mine and mine only, not only I was feeling it was stolen from me, it's just that my drug was taken away from me, my validation high, I was missing it. I was no longer a success story. Still, it did not feel like a failure either because I knew that I had lost my status, but I had kept my values, my sense of right and wrong. And that particular trade-off I was happy to live with. I was thinking about that as I was enjoying my ice cream here. And it still felt good to be able to just sit down and treat yourself to a cone of ice cream. I could care less about what's on the news that night. And that was a luxurious first. That was the type of control that I did not experience before. The control to choose what you want over what you must. How did it feel, you'll ask me? See, I don't know. The feeling back then was still a very untrained muscle. So in this sink or swim moment, I did the only thing that I was trained to do. I moved on. I acted. I got back in control. I moved on, in this case particularly, I moved on by moving away. I packed my life into exactly 6 suitcases and 3 loved ones, and we embarked on a journey across the Atlantic. Knoxville, Tennessee is our next destination, and this is where everything changed. I went back to school. I started to cook. That was a shocker for my girls. For as long as they lived, they believed that dinner only came in a brown bag, so they were really shocked to see me cooking. With time, they started eating what I cooked too. I also got to hike. I got to enjoy long walks and small talks. I got to read, but like real read, not just skim through the headline. And with some professional help, I eventually learned how to feel again. Truth be told, that particular bit is still a work in progress with me. Too much feeling is still a scary idea. See, for me, I'm afraid that if I feel all of those feelings, it can be paralyzing. I can freeze. See, I did not freeze, but I told you my shoulder did. And some research suggests that frozen shoulder, while not exactly clear what causes it, suppressed emotions and overlooked anxieties and fears may have something to do with it. Suppressed emotions, overlooked anxieties, me? You think? Still, I, to this day, have some progress to report. As I'm recovering from this overachieving virus, I get an opportunity to test my immunity. I was offered this job, one of the best jobs, one of the top 3 programs in journalism wanted me. They wanted me. And what does an overachiever do when they're being called to service? You hit the ground running, no hesitation, even if it means that you have to split the family across the Atlantic, even if it means that you have to live in a constant winter, because the job was in Syracuse, upstate New York, very cold, lots of snow. But hey, girls gotta do what a girl's gotta do. Eyes on the prize, right? The only way forward is the way up. Not this time. This time I chose otherwise. I decided to look back, and there was this overachiever in my head asking, are you making the biggest professional mistake in your life? Probably, but there is this gut feeling that prevailed. The feeling that I needed to go back. I needed to go back home, back to family and friends, and yes, back to some unresolved pain, but it just felt cozier. It just felt warmer. As about this overachieving virus, I'm not gonna lie. It's an uphill battle. I just like with any other addiction, I just choose to stay sober at the face of temptation. So to all my fellow overachievers out there, success does not equal happiness. Being is more important than doing. And good enough is the only functional version of perfect. And it's not about having it all. Only what truly matters. That one person or one thing that comes to you naturally. The thing that chooses you, not the thing that you have to fight to be chosen by. Thank you. Thank you.